There are spoilers for Alien, Earth's fifth episode, In Space, No One, in this review. The fifth episode of Alien, Earth is practically a massive ball of story, acting as a preface to everything we've seen so far, which is surprising for a program that has been very content to stay in its thematic themes. In addition to providing additional insight into Morrow's objectives, this episode describes the specific events aboard the Maginot prior to its collision with New Siam. This type of episode could have served as the premiere, but since A, practically everyone dies and B, it isn't really the focus of the show, it probably would have lost viewers by the end. This is the only episode except for the pilot. It seems to be showrunner Noah Hawley's attempt to fully honor the original Alien, even down to the title, which alludes to the film's well-known tagline. According to the first episode of the show, the Xenomorph broke containment, the ship was on the verge of colliding with New Siam, and all of the crew members, aside from Morrow, were dead. When the captain and a crewman are attacked by a couple of facehuggers, in space, No One exposes the extreme degree of dysfunction on board. No one seems to realize that they have acid for blood, although Morrow and acting Captain Javeri, Richa Murjani, seem to understand what a xenomorph is, which makes the episode challenging. However, no shade since they, and we, discover that facehuggers aren't troubled by the cold when they attempt to put the host and facehugger into cryosleep, which is the protocol. It's a clever little surprise that demonstrates that, even if Ripley was right to want to follow the rules in the first Alien, it wouldn't have altered the Nostromo's fate. Morrow begins an investigation into how the animals got out in the first place, claiming that either sabotage or ineptitude was to blame for the fire starting and the facehuggers escaping. Why can't it be both, is the response from this episode. We learn that Science Officer Chibuzzo, Karen Alexis Aldridge, must have gotten her as Morrow attempts to figure out how the facehuggers slipped containment. Degree from Do Your Own Research's RFK Junior University. While I'm not advocating that scientists never eat in the lab, it might be a good idea to avoid eating lunch near the harmful parasites while conducting tests on them. Rather, she has a variety of creatures that are just hanging around, underestimating their intelligence, and not caring about best practices. As they stage their little prison break, it almost makes you want to cheer for the aliens. The fact that Chibuzzo is oblivious to what is taking place in her lab does relate to one of the main themes of the show, which is the nature of. As he investigates, he discovers that Petrovich, Enzo Salenti, the head engineer, is the saboteur. Petrovich has been wandering through the ducts while he was meant to be in cryosleep. I was mistaken when I thought Yutani had intentionally destroyed the Maginot in Prodigy's backyard as a violent act. Boy Cavalier, who wants the specimens for himself, staged the crash, which wasn't an accident. Petrovich is aware of the hybrid program and desires a new persona for himself. Prize, but Cavalier shrugs and essentially responds, well, we'll see what we can work out if you make it back alive. Another important narrative aspect is Morrow discovering the hybrid software, which clarifies how he realized Slightly was more than simply a synth when they first met. Everything is going to hell on the Maginot, so it doesn't really matter that Petrovich is the saboteur. As the sabotaged ship returns to Earth, 3 alien species are on the loose, Javeri appears to be incompetent, and everyone is dying miserably. With the possible exception of Michael Smiley's, none of the Maginot's crew truly impresses us, therefore it's difficult to argue that there is a sense of sadness here. Shmuel is a tough yet sympathetic engineer. The fact that we don't see the alien digging into his eye socket, however, leads me to believe that they are saving that scene for Boy Cavalier. Even the eyeball alien gets him. Additionally, when the eyeball alien takes control of a human host, it resembles Daria's history instructor more than I had anticipated, which was that it would go all the way inside and resemble a normal eye. Everyone is dead by the end of the episode, but Morrow's spacecraft crashed, leaving us to wonder what will happen next. When Morrow meets the younger Yutani at her offices, we do get a glimpse of the greater plot progressing. This scene makes me think of a samurai going back to his master. Honoring his lord was his only duty. He declares that he will kill Cavalier and restates his determination to recover the specimens by any means necessary. Based on what we've seen of Morrow, this seems more like an act of provoking problems than a way to exact revenge on his deceased crewmates. However, Morrow might discover that the aliens grabbed the Prodigy CEO first, since Cavalier treats the specimens with nearly the same recklessness as the late Chibuzzo. It also seems like the least engaging version of the program, despite everything that occurs in Space, No. 1. Even though it's a sort of bottle episode, the conclusion is predetermined, the majority of the crew is alien fodder, and it simply serves to emphasize how much we've put in Hermit, Wendy, and others. I'm excited to get back to our world of conflicted hybrids and the aliens among them, because Morrow isn't enough to power the show. Unexpected observations. The cat doesn't matter to Morrow. In case you needed further proof that Morrow is a cold-hearted jerk, he would not have saved Jonesy in the Origina.